Most people come to Fes looking for history. They come looking for ancient streets, ancient doors, ancient buildings, ancient traditions. But I came here wondering something different. How does one of the oldest living cities on earth stay alive? Because history doesn't survive simply by getting older. It survives by continuing to create. And today, I'm following a trail that begins here at the Blue Gate and ends somewhere I never expected to find inside one of the world's oldest Medinas. Every civilization leaves clues. Sometimes they're carved into cedar, sometimes pressed into leather, sometimes fired into clay. Here along Tala'a Kebira, every doorway reminds you that craftsmanship has never been a hobby. It has always been a way of life. These workshops don't simply produce objects. They produce continuity, skills passed from one generation to the next, which made me wonder, if tradition is already alive here, what does modern creativity look like? No, okay.
So this is what you see there.
Then I found this, hidden inside one of the oldest Medinas on earth, contemporary Moroccan art. And suddenly the question changed. Maybe tradition and modernity were never opponents. Maybe they were simply two chapters of the same story. At first glance, these paintings feel completely different from the architecture outside. Different colors, different forms, different materials. But the longer I stood here, the more I realized they were asking the same questions. Who are we? Where have we come from? What do we carry forward? Every civilization answers those questions differently. Morocco answers them visually. This is quite nice.
It's nice one.
Nice, yes. Wow, look at this. Standing here, I realized something else. Great art rarely gives you all of its answers at once. The longer you look, the more it begins to speak. At first, all I noticed were the colors, bold reds, deep blues, earth tones, thick layers of paint, strong textures. But after a while, I stopped seeing individual colors and started seeing conversations.
Welcome.
Thank you. You do all this. This is abstract.
Group of artists.
Group of artists. Okay.
4 brothers and 6 friends. Everyone have a different style.
Okay. Who does this?
My big brother.
Your big brother, Omar. This is amazing. So what type of art is this?
This is everyone can see this detail different way. And every day we discover something.
Okay. Could
The
you?
magic of this.
I know. Could you tell me a bit what it's all about?
We are talking about Amazigh, culture, architects, many things.
Okay.
Many things.
Oh, this is really nice.
And that takes 6 months painting.
36.
Yes, the bigger one.
Wow. And what medium? Oil on canvas?
Yes.
Oil on
We
canvas.
can roll up without frame, just the canvas.
Okay.
That's all of this canvas.
But is it oil? Is this oil?
Acrylic.
Acrylic. Okay.
Acrylic. You are an artist, I guess. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Every brushstroke seemed to carry memory. Every layer hinted at stories that existed long before the canvas itself. Morocco has always been a place where stories traveled through many different forms. Through woven carpets, through carved cedar, through leather, through poetry, through oral tradition. And for many contemporary artists, those inherited visual languages continue to provide inspiration, not by copying the past, but by transforming it into something new. What fascinated me most was the abstract nature of these paintings. They don't tell you exactly what to think. Instead, they invite you into the conversation. I found myself returning to the same painting again and again, and each time, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. A face hidden inside color, a landscape emerging from texture, a symbol I had completely overlooked. It reminded me that the most powerful art doesn't simply show you an image, it changes the way you look.
And when we meet my big brother, Omar.
So with Moroccans, do they really appreciate this art? Do they like it?
Yes. they
Or is it
like
just foreigners that buy it?
Not selling, not buying.
Okay.
The most we work with the tourists.
Tourists, okay, fair enough. I suppose they are the ones that would appreciate this even more. Yeah. Oh, this is amazing. Yes.
And this is our...
Perhaps that's why abstraction can feel so deeply human. We don't all arrive with the same memories. We don't all carry the same experiences. So each of us discovers something different. The painting never changes. Yet somehow, every time you return to it, you do. And maybe that's why these works feel so alive. They aren't asking us merely to admire Morocco's heritage. They're inviting us to continue the story. Listening to the artist, I realized something important. Heritage isn't a museum. It isn't frozen. It's a conversation. Every generation inherits a story and then decides what chapter comes next. We often think culture survives because people preserve it, but maybe that's only half true. Culture also survives because people reinvent it. Without that, tradition becomes imitation. Without roots, innovation loses meaning. Fes somehow manages to hold both. Ancient enough to remember, creative enough to keep imagining. Oh, this is really nice. I like the intricacy in this. Yeah, and the mystery. There's another one there I had wanted to have a look. This is quite nice. This is a typical... So is this a typical Medina door? I came here expecting to discover contemporary Moroccan art. Instead, I discovered something much bigger. That creativity isn't the opposite of tradition. Tradition gives creativity somewhere to begin. Every carved doorway, every woven textile, every leather workshop, every painted canvas, they're all answering the same question. How do you honor the past without becoming trapped inside it? Maybe that's why Fes feels so different. It isn't simply preserving history, it's still writing it. Is this you?
Yes.
Oh, okay, this is really... There's a lot of intrigue.
Sample of the Amazigh.
Oh, sample of the Amazigh.
Yes.
This is amazing. Yeah, and then this one. Oh, what are these?
This is we use sample for writing Amazigh.
Okay. Wow. If you've watched my previous films on Fes, you'll know we've explored its riads, its hidden systems, and the deeper meanings built into its architecture. But today reminded me that culture isn't only found in the things we inherit, it's also found in what each generation creates next. And I think that's one of the greatest lessons Fes has to offer. When I first arrived in Fes, I thought its greatest treasures were hidden behind old doors. Then I realized they were hidden inside its architecture. Today, I discover they also live inside the imagination of its artists, which leaves me wondering, if every generation leaves its own layer behind, what layer are we leaving for the next one? That's the question I'll be following next.